Hey, hola, hola, everybody. How are you? It's Fabi Paulini here once again. I am beyond excited to be here. I was here yesterday, and I hope that you guys were able to catch day one of Get Your Biz Together series. So just kind of recap a little bit. Yesterday, I was talking about how to get over those little, like that little monster that's in your head, that's in your ear telling you that you're not enough and that you can't do it, and how to do all the things that you need to do in order to start taking action, to actually start doing the things that are important for you, that are going to move you forward, that are going to get you closer to your goals, closer to your vision, closer to your dreams, and making things happen. And today what we're going to be talking about is essentially understanding what the fundamentals are in order to get your business together, to get your shit together and really take off, like to really help you get all of the pieces that you need in place to really make an impact with your business. And you might be starting out, you might not be starting out, you might have been in business for a while already. And still, it's important to go back to basics to understand these fundamentals and to have a lot of clarity around what's important. What do you need to actually be doing? I think that we live in a world where there's so much stuff and so many things like pulling our attention and like telling us, look here, look here, look here, look here, that we need to sometimes sit down and say, okay, what is it that I really need to be focused on? So anyways, like I said, what I wanted to do today is basically dispel some of the myths and some of the things that you think that you need to have in place in order to either get started or take your business to the next level, and kind of just get clarity around the things that are actually important, beyond like all these little things that are pulling you everywhere. It's about really getting to understand what it is that you actually need. The first thing that I want you to know is that what you don't need is to have everything figured out. Like we talked about it yesterday, right? That the only way for you to have things figured out is by you taking action and actually doing things, right? And even then, hopefully you never have it all figured out, like, because that means that you become complacent and you stop innovating. And literally, to give you an example, one of my main strategies for building my business and for lead generation is a webinar that I get to do, that is automated. It is amazing. It's wonderful. If you guys haven't seen it, you better watch it. But, I have done around, by this point, I think around 13 versions of it, I think. And this morning I woke up and I'm like, you know what? I think I can make an improvement on my webinar. I feel like there is something, like I want to add more value here and I want to change things there. And I'm literally writing a new version today, and I think I'm going to be doing it live next week. So you guys will see the invitation for it sometime soon, like probably next week or the week after that. I'll be doing it live once again. And the thing is that the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm always trying to improve. This is what you want in your business. If you feel like you have everything figured out, it means that something is off, okay? It's not that, obviously there gets to a point where you understand what works for you and what doesn't, but you always need to be improving even those things that you're really confident about and you're really sure about, okay? So, you really always want to be innovative in your business. But before we get into talking about the things that you need to have in place in your business, like what the specifics are and all of that, I want to talk a little bit briefly about the difference between tactics and strategy, okay? Because I feel like this is where a lot of us get stuck so often. Tactics are those small things that you're doing that are going to get you to move forward in small increments or small amounts. Like, for example, increasing your Instagram followers or opening a YouTube channel or building your email list. Like, these are all tactics, and they're concrete things that are going to move you forward in the short term. Obviously, these things are important. And, another part of tactics is that you want to understand is that these are going to vary depending on a whole bunch of things, like the nature of your business, the nature of your audience, like who you are, what your personality is. So for example, if you're like, okay, what are the tactics that I need to do to build my business? Well, if you're great at video, maybe opening a YouTube channel is going to be a great way to do it. But if you're not good at video, that's not a tactic that's going to necessarily work for you. Okay. So it really is going to depend on a few things. Strategy, on the other hand, is about the bigger long-term goals. Like, it's creating a plan that's going to allow you to achieve them. when I work with my clients, we focus on building long-term strategy. So it's not about these small, well, there are certain small tactics that we build together, obviously, like visibility plan and stuff like that. But really, it's about understanding the long-term strategy of your business. Like, what are the actual necessary things that you need to be doing in order to move forward beyond the smaller things that can change here and there? Does that make sense? So, really, when I look at building businesses with my clients and even with myself, I try to think about the big picture. It's not necessarily only about how much money I'm going to make this month, or how many clients I'm going to get this week, or how many whatever, but about what is the bigger vision that I want for my business? How do I build long-term success with the strategies that I'm doing? So again, it's not about like, oh, I'm going to do, a Facebook Live just today, and that's more of a tactic. A strategy is, okay, what is the big picture behind it? Okay, so hopefully that kind of makes sense. And really, that's where I'm going to focus on today. When we're talking about getting your business together and the actual fundamental things that you need to have in place in order for you to take off and build success and really take things to the next level, what you want to understand is, what is the actual strategy, okay? And the strategy begins with gaining total clarity around your brand. In the way that I see it, there are kind of three main strategies that you need to focus on before you move into the smaller tactics. The first one is brand strategy, which really revolves around having clarity in who you are and really defining the foundations of your brand. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. The next one is your revenue strategy, which is built around creating a powerful offer or offers which are going to bring you income, right? And then obviously the third, and that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. And the third part is your marketing strategy, which is how you generate leads, hopefully consistently, right? So I was talking about a moment ago how I'm thinking of redoing my webinar. I'm going to be writing it. And my webinar is part of my marketing strategy. But also there's these smaller little things like doing these Facebook Lives and doing this series and doing other things that are all tactics that build up to like the big marketing strategy, okay? And the thing is that most people out there are telling you to start a business by looking for a niche that's profitable or looking for a business opportunity and going after it. So they're telling you, okay, go out, do market research, find your audience, and then build your offer around that. But the thing is that that's not how I see it. Right now, we're getting into talking about the actual brand strategy, okay? That's not how I see it. And part of the reason is that what I talked about yesterday. So yesterday I was telling you guys how, there's going to be a lot of obstacles and there's a lot of things like self-confidence and self-doubt that are going to be there, fear that's going to be there getting in the way, that is going to make things a little bit difficult when you're building a business. Like, it's normal obstacles and challenges. But if you're building your business out of like this hole that you found and you're going to fill that hole, and that's it, like you're molding yourself to fit something that's there, like a gap, it really means that it's going to make it a little bit harder for you, because it's not about you building your business from what really, really fulfills you and what feels right. And, it takes a ton of mental strength and a ton of like focus to move forward when those hard moments come. And if you're building your business around like, oh, okay, let me just use this opportunity, it just makes it harder. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. We'll talk about how to kind of get like clarity around those specific things between today and tomorrow. But what I am saying is that you really want to build a business around what feels right for you, okay? So you want to build a business around who you already are and what you're already great at, and looking for a way to fill a gap based on what's right for you. So like, people need this, whatever. I just took the first thing that I found. Okay, there's a gap for this. Let me just sell this, and I might as well just sell it. Instead of that, it's like, okay, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm really great at? What is a problem that I'm really, really great at solving? And how can I find a gap? Like, how can I fill the gap with what I know? All right. Obviously, there's exceptions here, because if your business plan is about like selling to unemployed people a $100,000 service, it might be hard to find a market, right? But really, where you begin, the real thing, like the actual thing, I think the most important thing that you need to have in place in order to get your biz together, to have everything that you need to build success, is understand what problem you're solving. what problem you're great at solving, okay? So if I were to tell you right now, okay, you're doing a TED Talk tomorrow on a topic, what is that topic going to be about? Like, what is it that you're like, damn it, I'm really good at this. Like, I know how to solve this problem with my eyes closed. I know how to solve this problem, like, immediately. I'm great at it. And it might not be like, oh, you know, I spent 4 years in undergrad and then I did a master's in this and I have a PhD and I have this and I have that. It's not necessarily that. It's just something that you're good at, right? You might have studied it. It might be a skill that you acquired. It might be just that you love reading about it. It might be just something that you're passionate about. It's like a hobby or yours, whatever it is. But there's something that you're doing, a problem that you can solve that you're really great at. Nicole says so many people don't know who they are or what they want. I think that that's probably the number one problem. I think that most people are following the herd and saying, okay, I'm going to build my business and I'm going to build a membership site and launch courses and launch programs and do this and do that because it's like the cool thing to do. Not the cool thing to do, but it's what the industry sometimes dictates, and it's not what might feel right to you personally, right? So I think that it really starts with you asking yourself, what do you want? Like, what is that thing that you really want for yourself? What is that problem that you really want to solve, right? It's not only about, oh, there's a gap here, let me fill it, but it's around like, I really am passionate about this and I want to help people with it. Kim says it's so much easier to tell your own story than to remember someone else's story that you found somewhere. That's 100% true. So even when, and we'll get to that in a second, but when you understand, okay, I'm building my business around me, around what I love to do, around what I'm passionate about, it means that you talk from passion. Like, you know, obviously imagine if I were talking about like something that I'm not good at or whatever, like something I don't love. This passion that you can see from me, it's never going to come through the same way. So it really changes the way that I connect with my audience. It's going to change the way that you connect to people too. So really you want to start again by understanding what is the problem that you solve, right? And sometimes this problem that you solve, it's a problem that you have been able to do for yourself. Again, not necessarily around like, oh, I have 55 clients and 60 case studies and like I went to school for this and I have a PhD and a master's or whatever. But sometimes it's like I did it for myself, right? So just to give you an example with one of my clients, I have a client called Brittany Lake. Brittany is an intuitive weight loss coach and she had been overweight her whole life. Like she had done every diet, every exercise option, like all the things. She had done everything and nothing worked. So she started studying and, you know, understanding like a little bit more about intuitive eating and understanding the difference between fullness and hunger and all these different things. And this woman was able to like lose like 70 pounds or something like that. Now you see her, she's like super thin. And like, I told her when I met her, I was like, I don't imagine you being overweight. Like you look so thin. So, you know, basically what she did was she ended up building her business around this. And she actually trademarked intuitive weight loss, by the way. So you guys can't use it. But so that's what she does. She teaches intuitive weight loss. And it's not a thing that she had like a whole list of people that she had like a whole bunch of clients that she was helping with when she started. Obviously at this point she has, but when she started, but it was okay. This is something that I've done for myself, something that I'm good at, something that I'm passionate about, a problem that I know how to solve really well. Now let me help other people do the same. And then she built her business around that. Nicole says, that's why I have a client getting out of a business that's projected to make $400K this year because he's unhappy doing it. Yes, I love it, Nicole. Yes, so freaking true. Because sometimes I was talking to a client just a moment ago about this. Sometimes you might be like, man, this is the perfect job. This is the perfect business. I love it. Like it's making me so much money, but you're freaking miserable at it. There's this show that I watch called Friends from College. Guys, it's totally recommendable. So good. It's on Netflix. If you want to binge watch a series, it's really good. So Friends from College, one of the main characters, who is the same woman from How I Met Your Mother. I don't remember her name. Colby something. She's a Canadian. So her character gets this job like at Goldman Sachs or like this like investment firm or something. And it's like the most amazing job in the world. Like, oh my God, it's so good, blah, blah, blah. And the guys that work with her are like total assholes and she's miserable there. And I just like, you know, thinking of that example, like sometimes you have the best job, great time, like, you know, your schedule is great. And then you're like, I hate it. I hate going to the office every single day. Like, again, sometimes we're doing things because we're like little like sheep, right? Like, oh, okay, this is the thing to do. This is the thing to do. And I know it's scary. I'm getting into mindset a little bit, but sometimes it's scary, like saying, okay, I'm not doing things that way. I'm doing things my way, right? Sometimes that's scary, but still, again, you want to start by really doing what you love, because otherwise you're always going to have a cap. There's always going to be a ceiling. You might be successful, a tactic might work, a strategy might work, and then suddenly it all falls apart. And it falls apart because there's no love behind it. Kim says, I'm super amazing at connecting people to their intuition, getting quick, clear, accurate information in their own unique way, and discovering actions to create with that energy in their daily physical life. Sorry, I'm terrible at reading today. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's what you want to do. Thinking about, okay, what are the real things that you're helping people do, okay? So once you understand, okay, this is the problem that I solve, like this is the thing that I'm doing, and this is the solution that I'm creating for people, then you go into what's your differentiation strategy, okay? And I've talked about differentiation a ton of times, but in case this is the first time you're watching me, the first time you hear about this, differentiation is everything in your business, okay? Because we live in a world that is global. Like everybody's your competition, right? Like there's competition everywhere. And by the way, total kind of side note, but still related, I don't believe in competition. I don't. I think that there's too many people in the world that need help for it to be competition, especially in a global world. Now, if you have like two coffee shops next to each other, yes, competition. But if you're living in an online world that is like, globalized and you have people everywhere, basically, there's no competition, because especially when you're able to differentiate yourself. So going back to differentiation strategy, really, this is one of those things that is fundamental. We talked about first understanding what the problem is, and now it's about how you uniquely solve the problem or what you bring to the table, okay? And the way that I like doing this is by focusing or building what I call the 6 S's of singularity. Kind of a cute little name that I made up, but still it works really well. And these are 6 qualities or things, 6 elements or 6 things, however you want to call it. Then when you put them all together, when you put together all these pieces, you understand that there's nobody else in the whole world that's going to compare to you, no matter where you are in your journey. These 6 things are your stories, successes, skills, superpower, style, and steps, okay? So basically, the first thing are your stories, right? These are the things that your experiences, the things that you've lived, things that have happened to you or for you, or things like what your whole life story is about, your brand story, right? The second thing is your successes. And these could be things that are your own success stories, right? The things that you have, like I talked about Brittany, how she lost 70 pounds. Or it could be, I graduated from this place, or I did this, or my clients have this success, or whatever those success stories are. Your skills are the things that you're really great at, okay? So you might be wonderful at talking on camera like me. Total side note, skills are developed. I used to suck at this. And now I'm getting better, okay? You get comfortable with it. But anyway, skills are those things that you're really good at. Then your superpower is basically your personality. And I kind of molded it to fit with an S, but really it's your brand archetype, right? And in case you have nothing about brand archetypes, there's 12 brand archetypes. These are basically categories or personality types. And they're created by, the Swiss psychology, Carl Jung, I don't know how you say it, but yeah, whatever. And there's 12 examples like, hero, magician, explorer, nurture. I'm not going to remember 12 of them, but there's 12 different examples of what brand archetypes are. And these are basically what your personality is and how you're perceived in the world. Then there's style, which is the way that your voice is coming through. So whether you're somebody that's more motivational, or you're more bold, or you're more challenging, or you're more upfront, or you're more like more of an introvert. So it's kind of the style in which you're communicating in. And then the last one is steps. And steps has to do with your processes, your program, your framework, the way in which you're selling things. And I'll be talking about that tomorrow in much more detail when we get into the revenue strategy. But basically your steps are, what your unique way of getting people from point A to point B. And when you bring together those 6 things, again, stories, successes, skills, superpower, style, and steps, these are the things that make you who you are, okay? And really, again, it comes back to you understanding what is it that makes you different. What is your core message about? Okay. And what you want to do is look for pillars and common things that you stand for. And it's really going to be helpful for you to, like, in this process. At the end of the day, all the different tactics that you're going to apply in your business are about differentiating yourself, standing out, getting people to believe in you and in your promise, or basically getting people to believe and understand that you can solve this problem for them. Okay. And the way that you build this big strategy is by getting clear on you. Like what Nicole was saying before, a lot of people don't understand who they are, what makes them different. Sometimes like they think that it has to be, I don't know, like this whole rags to riches story, like, oh my God, look at all this like that I did and blah, blah, blah. And then you think, well, I don't have that story. I have like a normal story. What about me is different, But again, when you bring together these 6 elements, you always are going to find things that are really different about you. And yesterday we talked about how you could probably find a million reasons why not you, okay? Like, you're not good enough, and there's other people that are more advanced and they know how to do things, and you're just starting out or whatever. But really today we're going to be focusing on you. And what I want you to try to understand is, what is the reason why you're absolutely the best option for this person right now in front of you who needs to solve this problem that you happen to solve really well right now. The thing is that no matter what you do, no matter where you are, like I said before, you're in a very saturated market, right? There's a ton of coaches or service providers that are looking to solve the same problem that you're here to solve. And the truth is that the easy answer around this, like to understand, okay, how do I differentiate myself, is that you understand that nobody out there is you. There's nobody else out there that's like you. And I always think about this movie. You guys remember the movie Slumdog Millionaire, where like this guy, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was this guy from India. He was playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he won the $1 million or rupees or whatever it was. And the whole movie is about him connecting the dots about how he knew the answers, right? Sometimes what you have to do is connect the dots and look at all these things that have brought you to where you are, like that brought you here to watching this video right now, like connecting with me or connecting with yourself right now. What are all these things that have happened to you at this point that get you to understand that you are the best option for your clients? So when I look back in my life, I've lived all over the world. I was brought up living everywhere. My dad used to work in an oil company, and they moved us everywhere: Brazil, Venezuela, Spain, India, the US. And I grew up in a really multicultural world before. Well, globalism has always been a thing, but before, we lived in this like internet world where there's literally no, there's no limits, there's no boundaries. That's how I grew up, like just adapting to different cultures and adapting to different people. And when I look at the work that I do with my clients, I get to connect with them in a way that nobody else can do, because I grew up in all these different cultures and meeting all these different types of people. So when I look at my clients and their businesses and their like little cultures, of course, like these people with what they do and their clients and their process and everything, I can easily adapt, even if it's something that I know nothing about. Like, for example, right now I'm working with a client who's a career coach, and I don't know anything about, well, it's not that I don't know anything about careers, but I haven't been employed in a long time. Yet she can tell me what she does, and I can still understand her, and I can adapt to what her culture is, just because I'm great at adapting at culture, and I'm great at understanding people and meeting them at the same place. I am a really, I think I always say this wrong. Empathetic, I think, yeah. Or empathic, empathetic. I think it's empathetic. I don't know. Hopefully you guys get what I mean, but I can relate really well to people. And I think it really connects with me being able to have been growing up the way that I did, and meeting people in so many different places. And yeah, so basically what I mean with this is look back in your own life and think, okay, how can I connect the dots? What are these things that really make me who I am? Like I said, sometimes people think like, oh, it has to be this whole story of like, I was poor and I was like Nicole, homeless and eating out of dumpster. It doesn't necessarily have to be a story like that. Sometimes your story is normal. Not that Nicole's story isn't normal. It's normal to her. But, sometimes it's about like, who you are. Like I have a client who's an introvert, and she's like, well, I have had a very normal life. There's nothing different about me. And I'm like, but you're an introvert. and yet you're building this business that is really powerful and beautiful and doing all these things. Just the fact that you're an introvert makes you different, right? And there's so many introverts out there that might connect to who you are. All right. So hopefully this kind of gives you a little bit of clarity around why it's important to differentiate yourself. But the thing is that once you understand, okay, what is the problem that I'm solving and what I'm doing different or who I am, that's when you really get to define your niche or find out, okay, who's my audience, okay? And again, we're going to talk about tomorrow how to build your offer and actually create that revenue strategy in a way that brings you money. But before you move into that, you have to understand who you're actually selling to, okay? So who is your audience? This is when that comes in. And in my experience, if you're a coach or if you're a service provider, it's really likely that you at some point were or are your ideal client, okay? So it means that what you're teaching right now is something that you learn to solve yourself. This is something that I see in the majority of people out there, the majority of people that I work with, like 99% of the time, you are your best client. So if you're trying to understand what's going on with your audience and what their problem is and what, like do that market research, sometimes it really just takes you looking at yourself and understanding, okay, what are the things that are happening to me? What's going on? What are my fears? What are my problems? Where do I want to be? Where am I now? Or where was I? What was I feeling? And really getting clarity around that. I do this like really big exercise with my clients. Like I send them through this big training video where I have them watch to really define who their audience is and understand what the before is, where they are right now. And part of that training involves me getting them to get into the shoes of their audience and think, okay, where am I? Like what's going on? How is this affecting my life? Like what is the pain? Like again, you understand the problem that you solve, you understand what makes you different and how you uniquely solve it. Although we'll get into the details of that tomorrow. And then you have to define, okay, who am I solving this for? And what is the pain that they have? Because at the end of the day, for you to build a successful business and to have everything that you need to take off, you need to understand the problem better than anybody else. Understanding your audience is really crucial. At the end of the day, you're not going to have a business without an audience, like period, right? Like it's impossible, right? So you want to write down every last detail and describe the problem from your client's point of view as best as you can. And I feel like when you break these things down and really get clarity around, okay, what's going on, getting into the detail, the nitty-gritty details of the problem, it really is going to help you build an offer that sells. Again, building that brand strategy, that clarity around who am I? What do I stand for? What is it that I solve? What am I great at solving? What is the like, how do I want to position myself? How do I want to show who I am is really going to be the fundamental thing. Because yes, marketing, yes, tactics, all these things are important. But the first thing where you begin is by really defining your spot in the marketplace, like finding your place. Where am I? Where do I fit here? What is the problem that I solve? And how do I, why me? What is it that I bring to the table that nobody else can bring? A lot of times people get stuck on this because we compare ourselves. I talked about it yesterday. Like we compare ourselves. We're like, well, I bring this to the table, but this other person has been doing this for 25 years. Like they bring more to the table than me. It doesn't matter. People still want you instead of them. Okay. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the specific things that you need to be in place to build a revenue strategy. Like how do you build an offer? Like how do you actually make money with what you're doing? Important, right? And we're going to talk about that in much more detail tomorrow. Anyways, that's it. Let me know if you haven't watched yesterday's video, please watch it. Like it was so good. It was so good. And remember to be the elephant. If you watched it, remember to be the elephant and go out there and make things happen because you are so powerful and you're so incredible and you deserve everything that you want in your life. And it's just about getting your biz together, like getting the things that you need to have in place together to move forward. Sometimes we get stuck. We get stuck on like these dumb, small, like little things that become huge monsters in our brains. Don't get stuck. Just move forward and just figure out what the things that you need to do are to move you forward. All right. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be talking about your revenue strategy and how to make more money. Ciao.